Crack open my eye. When it smell like trouble, I gotta have it fresh. So I go to the sex store.
All right, recording in progress, and we are back. We are back. And look, I got some fly stuff for y'all this time, so I'm getting real fancy with it.
Yeah, man, excited for this. This is really the first one. This is numero uno.
Yeah, this is pretty much the beginning of it. All right, so let's jump right into it because I gotta go meet somebody and pick up some vinyl in a little bit. From PSK.
Me too. I'm not. He's mailing his to me, but yep. Shout out to PSK 13.
Yeah, I'm gonna go meet him on over there by Sam's boat at 7 o'clock. So
Cool.
yeah, I when he said that was my favorite album by him. So when he had that Unborn, I was just like, oh, you're gonna have to give me that one, bro. You talking about signed autograph copies? I know you my boy, but I'm still take the autograph copy.
I gotta say this. I didn't know him before, and I only know him through Facebook. We are friends because I sent him a friend request, and I did not ever know in high school that he had gone to Creek.
Man, you
until way later, and I was jamming him in high school.
Yeah, like they all came and did a show at Creek.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, they all came into the show, man.
Klondike Cat and them too. Was it like Klondike Cat? South Park Coalition.
It was Klondike Cat, him, Nip. Man, it was just about everybody. I believe K Reno was there too. I mean, it was the whole South Park Coalition. I think except for K Reno. I can't really remember if Reno was there. But I mean, it was the South Park, yeah, but it was SPC, right? And
yeah,
at that time, I didn't know them like I know them now, and it was just like, bro, we listening to them and they showed up. But they was as regular as can be. They pulled up in an old Buick. They was as regular as can be.
Yeah, it was crazy because I was jamming him on like 3 a.m. or no, I'm sorry, the one before that. The one that screwed it with Big Time with
6 in the morning.
No, not 3 a.m. All Screwed Up. The Big Time release.
Yeah, it was 3 a.m.
Pulling up to Creek, and I was probably jamming PSK 13, and I was like, man, this is hard. And I didn't know until maybe 5-6 years ago that he went to high school with us.
Yep. So, right out here, Cook Creek Gadget. Right, hey, shout out to everybody who went to Creek. All right, so man, let's get to the first topic. All right, Wakanda Forever. Okay. All right, it was a good movie, but if there was no one, this was an okay movie. You know what I'm saying? If Chadwick doesn't die, and they don't, with all the memorials in it, was nice. It was blue. It was, cinematically, it was on point. I'm not saying that it was anything wrong with the movie. But it was just a little slow in parts. But my thing is, so many of these action movies are starting to make these women the hero. And I can't believe somebody who weighs 120 to 115 pounds is going to beat up 3 grown 250-pound muscle-bound men. Is getting a little hard to believe that narrative right now. And I know they're trying to empower women, and I got 6 dollars. Please empower them, but still, come on, let's get a little more real in there. Like, I didn't mind Black Panther being a woman, but I have a problem when the woman weighs 115, 120 pounds and she's doubling down on dudes that's double her size, and it's just like, all right. That's a little hard to believe, but it was overall good. But it wasn't. Some people say it was better than one. It definitely was nowhere near one. The theater was pretty thin. I mean, I went probably about 3:45, 4:45. It was midday. It was pretty thin. It was. I can count everybody in there on hands and toes, on fingers and toes. So it wasn't a lot of people in there. So it's not. I mean, but now after the movies kind of bubble pop. With COVID, do anybody go to the movies anymore? When the last time you've been to the movies?
Well, I was just going to say I don't go to a lot of movies because, frankly, there haven't been very many good movies in my opinion, in the last couple of decades, and it takes a lot. But I actually want to go see this one, and I will, just because I feel like I should, and we can talk about it now. Like I can tell you what I think. but I'm not familiar with the comic of it. But from what I understand in Hollywood, what you said about women and empowerment, there's been a lot of that in the last decade or so, all around, particularly in the comic book world and action world, and anything where there's action to be done. Whereas it used to be men, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger, that kind of thing. But also probably in comedies and things like that. I just don't watch a lot of movies because I feel like they went to shit years ago, and that's a different story.
My thing is, I started getting into film and how film was made. So I look at movies from a cinematic point of view where I never did. And so I'll go back and watch old movies, and I'll just be like, man, he was worlds ahead of the time with just cinematically, like Tarantino movies. Like, man, cinematically.
That's the kind of stuff I like. Like, yeah, I want to watch something like that.
It's hard
and
to
spend my time on. Otherwise, I can't do it. I'll get up and walk out of movies at this point. One of the last movies I did see in the theater, though, was the Wonder Woman one, 1984.
Yeah.
I went and saw it with one of my godsons and his dad, and it was because for me, I'm like, yeah, he likes that stuff, and I'll go see it. Two, it was nostalgic, and I love nostalgia. I'll go, see things for that reason alone. I remember Wonder Woman, but even with that, I got that vibe that there was an undertone of making all the men look like imbeciles and buffoons, and the women being the heroes. And I didn't know that was an agenda at that point, but it seems to be. But I caught it. I was like, this is like they're throwing a little bit too much of this in here for it to be believable, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I didn't care for the Wonder Woman movie. I know some women they're like, I didn't go to the movies and watch it. I watched it, and I must have tried to watch that movie about 7 or 8 times, man, and I went to sleep every time.
So, yeah, it was one of those. I watched the whole thing in the theater, but I was like, that's kind of if you and that's another thing. If I'm at home trying to watch a bogus movie, good luck, man. I ain't gonna make it.
Yeah. All it takes is a good drink and some good food, and I'm gonna snooze on it. All right, so what was the other stuff? All right, so that's what.
But I do. So is that all on that movie? Like that's.
I really ain't got much to say on it, man. It really just. I can't even. I mean, I'm not gonna give it away, the ending, but it's a kind of a telegraphed ending. And I'm like I say, I'm big on cinematography. The cinematography was good. There was some awesome. They could do a lot of stuff with CG these days, and all that stuff was dead on point where you expected to see, but the storyline in the middle, it gets really drawn out. And I understand, they're mourning Chadwick and kind of memorializing him in this movie, but he passed a few years ago. You got to get back to the movie and make this entertaining.
Yeah.
I hate to tell them, right? If it's not entertaining, it doesn't matter what you're saying these days. So.
One more thing I've heard about that type of movie where they overtly try to make women the hero is, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense. They try to fit it in the story and make it work, and it just doesn't. It just doesn't. It's not believable. And that's not me saying that. This is what I've heard from other people who watch a lot of these sort of movies.
Yeah, I've seen that on with the. Was it like the blonde? What is it? One with the blonde? I forget what it was called, but and I like that movie. And some of the movies it kind of fits with the, she's this little badass kid that was raised in an orphanage, and she grows up and people give her all the skills. That storyline kind of worked for me with the woman when they were whipping. But when you get these women who, this one, she's been a scientist her whole life, and all of a sudden she becomes Black Panther. She's whooping. Like, come on now. Come on, like, where'd you get the skills from? I know it makes you super strong, but super strong doesn't mean you can super whoop butt.
There's a difference between a real story like that, because there are real stories like that in life. God knows they are. But when you try to take something and fit a narrative, and it's hard to pull it off if you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You take a men's storyline
right now.
A storyline. Sorry. God, it didn't take long, did it? Did I tell you where I came from earlier? I had to go pick up a deposit. I'm sorry, I have to do this.
A deposit?
I had to go pick up a deposit for a job.
Oh, okay.
We had done work a while back for a gentleman on his personal home, and after talking to him for a while, it became apparent that there was peculiar things about him. He did something in particular for a living. He finally came out and said he had owned a number of gentlemen's clubs, basically all of them in Houston. And so we did work for him a while back. He needed some more stuff done. His son works at the one over here. I won't say its name, but you know probably where it is, just south of Hobby Airport. Yeah, that place. I had to go over. I was there about an hour ago picking up a deposit. So that was cool. But you said you made I'm sorry, I threw it all off, but you made a joke and I had to fit that in eventually.
But yeah, what was it called? Golly, man. What was it?
Well, the place I'm talking about is the Ritz, and you can Ritz. You can bleep that out if you need to.
Oh, no, man. The Ritz used to be the spot. I'm gonna tell you when I went to the Ritz the most. When I sold cars for Charlie's Thomas lot at that car mall.
Say no more, of course.
That was our lunch. That's what we hit the lunch, man. Like they had
bell, baby.
They had good steaks in there. And I used to listen to my homeboy because he would order salmon. I'm like, I'm not eating fish out of this place.
Yeah. Well, no, it was funny. I went in there and I hadn't been there since probably 2006, 2005 on the way home from a Rockets game one night on a work night with a few friends. If you were there, you know. But anyhow, a good relationship with the owner of that place and his son now. So for what that's worth, but that's neither here nor there. But I had to tell you, I told you that I was going to tell you where I was at prior to this. I had to go run and pick something up.
Yeah. Oh, well, hey, well, shout out to the Ritz, bro. Shout out to the Ritz. Hey.
The Ritz, man. They gave me right out of the. Yeah. Sorry, I had to derail this and get that out of the way. So let's go.
All right. So the next one, bro, we got up. All right, we was talking about this ever a little bit. Why do people care so much about every little thing? And this is where I got it from. Okay, I don't know who this black girl is. It's some black girl. She went to Cabo with her friends. She came up missing or came up dead, and all her friends are with her best friend, and everybody's going crazy. And I'm just like, who is she? Why does that matter? Well, no, why do you care? Because people die every day in the trolls. Like many people die. I said an aunt died of colon cancer last week. How can I be worried about every death in the world? Like God didn't make us. So I mean, we would be constantly sad. You would be constantly be mourning. You would constantly be angry. And that's what's wrong with people, I think, is that they're caring about too much. But in the black community, I got a couple black pages. It's Unapologetically Black was the page, and I'm gonna put them on here. They can get mad all they want, but was the page, and I asked them, I'm like, okay, I understand she's black, but why should we care? Like a person died in Cabo with her friends partying, may have been alcohol poisoning. It sounds like it was a lot of bad decisions that young people make. Not saying that nobody should care, but why should we collectively as a people care about this one little situation when there's people dying in rows from injustices all the time? So why not care about something that you can do something about, or somebody that you know? But how do you feel about it? You think it's just social media and we got too much information, so everybody cares about every little thing?
I was so glad when you brought that up, because it's something that's kind of there in the back of my mind that I've thought. But yeah, because if you ever think about how much stuff we're bombarded with, information, even forget about your phone and all that for a minute. Even just go back to in the time we were growing up, it was on our TV or it was on a billboard or it was in a magazine. We all used to read magazines and stuff a lot more, but now it's everywhere. And we all know, we all probably get up and check our phone first thing in the morning. I know I do, no matter what. I go to do that before anything. So I got to make sure my dad or somebody didn't call me and have whatever it might be. But you do that out of instinct. But we're bombarded with so much nonsense that we didn't, as people, up until I'm going to say the 16 or 1500s, 1700s, we didn't live like this, and then it accelerated. And in the last 100 years, we don't live anywhere near like what we used to as far as the amount of information we take in. It's not long ago that we just went along as if you were a man like me or you. We were going looking for something to kill to eat. And so we didn't have a lot to look at. We were walking through a pasture or a field somewhere, and our senses were so acute because we didn't have all this bullshit around us, and we were trying to find an animal to kill to, whether it's fishing or whatever, but like we lived like that for the longest time, and then we just have turned this knob in the last 100 years, and God knows, don't get me talking about the last 5 years on how much has changed. But we've changed. As you ever think about like how much we're not evolved to really do this the way that we do, and you wonder why people are like anxious and insane. And
that's what I was about to hit at.
Stress.
That's why people have so much anxiety these days.
Yeah,
it's because you're trying to even just wrap your head around all the information we get. I mean,
most of it we don't need to.
Yeah, well, let's not even go back to 1500s. Let's go back to 1950, 1960.
Yeah.
One television, one landline. If you're lucky, one television and one.
And most of us lived in the country back then too. Yeah. Most people, or they lived in the city. There wasn't too many suburbs, but you were either country folk or city folk.
Exactly. So you didn't have the in between, but that was, what was it? The newspaper was where you could get the most information.
Mm-hmm.
TV Guide slowly, magazines started.
I miss TV Guide.
When we were younger, magazines was popping.
Yeah.
Boy, Hustler. Like all.
Hey, you talk about TV Guide. Right next to that was like Jet or something. Yeah. I remember this because it was right there at the counter when you went to get your groceries.
Every month, like you had to wait every month to see the Jet Beauties. Like like you had to wait a month, and you had to have somebody with a subscription, and you'd be at their house like, and just one still picture.
Yeah, but I even know about that just because we all went to grocery stores, and it's just there's probably other stuff. Reader's Digest was right there next to it.
Yes,
but I miss magazines. So sort of, I used to go as a kid and read magazines and read books. I'd go to bookstores. I don't know. I don't know if everybody did that.
It was at. It was. I mean, you know what? Like comic books. I used to collect them in the beginning. Then I realized, like, when you stay in the projects, you probably shouldn't be collecting nothing but money. But
yep. But those comic books and baseball cards didn't end up being worth nothing when it came down to it.
Dude, baseball cards. Dude, I used to have a signed Tracy McGrady card that his uncle gave me. I met his uncle. Shout out to his uncle Joe Bob. I met him in Florida. I was down there I don't know, ask me how I got to the pit bull fights, but his uncle fought pit bulls down there. And I was at the pit bull fights, and I was down there with one of my crew members, and at the time I was probably like 23. Everybody else was like 45, 50. And they were like, "Why you here?" I was like, "Oh, these guys work for me." And it was like, "He the boss?" They was like, "Oh yeah, that's boss man right there." So he gravitated toward me because he thought when they were calling me boss, he thought everybody always thinks I sell dope when I'm outside of Houston. Like they gravitate toward me. Dope dealers they become my friend. Like everywhere I go, somehow I meet the biggest dealer in the city. And all of a sudden, and I don't figure this out till we're at a Waffle House and something else happens. Or there's one time it was a female. I met her at the Waffle House, and I was like, "Hey man, I just want somebody to show me the city." I was in St. Petersburg, and so I was in Tampa for my birthday, and I was like, "I just want to go out." I didn't even have no clothes. She took me to Walmart, bought me clothes out of her money, and we went to a strip club. Me and another girlfriend of hers had a ball. But as we got in the strip club, I realized everybody's calling me boss man, but they calling her boss too. I'm like, "Boss, I thought you was a student. What kind of boss you are? And why everybody in here know you?" And I realized by the end of the night, yeah, she sell.
Found the one.
Yeah, she sell big time.
Found the right one.
And it's something that I've just learned to not be mad at. It just I guess it's like light spirits, like attract light. Even though I don't do that, it's just like my lifestyle, the way my swag was always on like theirs, and so they would be like, "Man, you sure you don't hustle?" Like, nah. And so in New Orleans, they called me legal hustle. It was like, "Oh, he hustled, but his hustle legal. He made that good paper." Because I was 17 making $18 an hour. I was making money in 94, 95. As soon as I graduated, I went to New Orleans and started hustling, but I wasn't in the beginning. And the hustling I did was minute. It was it was a strange. We'll get into that one another time, though.
Yeah, there's a lot, And that's the thing, man. There's so many roads we could take with this thing. We could just tumble down, and we don't have to do them all at once. I think there needs to be. I want to do a whole episode on my failed remixes that I've been telling you about. That can be a little mini episode right there. We'll have fun with that one, so we don't have to jump right
I've
into
got to
this.
hear these so I can put them in context before we get on, because I want to already have. I don't want to get them. I don't want to get that on the air first time here. I want to be able to sit with them and
Oh, really?
examine them. And we can
see. I thought
you'd
like want to get the first impression. That's usually the best. But
yeah.
No. Okay. Anyhow,
yeah,
you want,
definitely
man.
do that. Shout out to everybody who making remixes at home and doing it by themselves. Shout out to everybody that's doing music and nobody here.
Let me do this. I'm going to do this. Hold on for 1 second. I know where the thing is that I made this with. I'm going to grab it and show it to you just so you can just know what they were made on.
Okay.
1 minute.
All right. So while he's doing that, what we're going to do is Brian's grabbing the beat machine. Man, I got all type of little stuff here. Got my little sound effects here. I'm trying to work through them here and come up with some things. Oh man, okay, yeah.
This came from Bed Bath and Beyond. Believe it or not.
Bed Bath and Beyond, really?
I was there with my girl at the time, and I did not expect to find a mixer. And this was like 2008, and I somehow made something with this, and we'll judge that one day.
Man,
that's just a preview for you,
bro. That's the old school stuff, man. I seen somebody the other day put a 4-track test cam up there, 4-track old school. Look at that. That's nice and old school, hands-on stuff. These kids don't even know about hands-on stuff like that. Everything's point and click now, and they don't even. I grew up where you had to go to the studio no matter what you made on a drum machine at the house. Like I say, when me and the twins, shout out to the twins, and it was me, the twins, and Ruzy. Shout out to Ruzy. That went to Clay. We made a demo. I think 2 of my beats and 2 of Ruzy beats, and the twins were rapping over with Kareem. So shout out to Kareem. And this is when they were TIC, and we went after we made the demo. The guy, I forget what his name was, Nelson. He's still on my page. Nelson's still on my page. Shout out to Nelson. We went straight to Screw House, and Screw listened to it. And we met Screw that day. His sister tried to holler at me. But at the time I wasn't even feeling him. We went in there. We sat down with him, and the crazy thing about it, we were there for 20 minutes, and we thought he was like coming from somewhere else. He was in another room mixing, because every room in his house had a turntable set up. And I remember his house like that. They had those wood panel walls, and it had like 4. We walked through 4 different rooms. It was 4 different turntable setups. And records all around him. He had these pads with songs written down everywhere. Man, shout out to, man, rest in peace, DJ Screw. Matter of fact, this is the day he died on. So
I'm not going far. It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the day he died on. But yeah, so we're in that room, and we're waiting. And man, he comes out of a back room. He comes out of a back room. And we were like, dude, we thought you were not here. He's like, nah, I was in the back mixing. And music is playing the whole time, but we didn't realize it was him live. Like, we thought we were listening to the Screw tape. No, it was him live in the back mixing it. And you realize, like, man, like, he is mixing this up and chopping this up like nothing, bro. And he comes out, he listens to the demo, and he listened to it was a 4-song demo. He listened to 3. And he was like, oh, the first 2 was all right. He got to that 3rd one. He was like, yeah, this one right here. I'm going to put this one on the tape. And, our eyes lit up like, what? And man, if we had that tape today, we'd probably be sitting on gold, but we don't. Because you never.
Did it come out?
I mean, it wasn't like out in stores. I mean, Screw tapes, you went to his house and brought it.
I know, but most of those.
Yeah, he had the commercial ones like, June 27 and stuff like that. He had those, but he also made personal Screw tapes for people. You could go in there and tell him, I want this and this and this. And he had pads, man, with just songs written down. And the tape that he had on, we had it at one time, but where it is now, if anybody's got it, it's probably D-Cypher. If anybody's got it, it would be D-Cypher. That would be the only person. He's like, anything that we did back in the past, like me, I let all the past music go. It's like, if it was good, it would be on the radio somewhere. It would made us some money. So why keep all that old music, especially when I make so much more? Like, I don't need the nostalgia of what I did in the past. I do more today or now than I've ever done. Like I
No, I
probably
know.
yeah, I got more. Like I say, I just dropped a new song yesterday. I've been dropping songs every Tuesday for the last, I say about 2.5 months. Every
I see
Tuesday.
you've been doing that, and I'll be honest, I haven't listened to too much of it. I'm going to start.
It's not. It's
Um,
one of those things where I don't even. You get to a point where it's like the preaching thing. If you're doing it for the likes and the views and for people to pat you on the back, I guarantee you're gonna stop. You'll never keep going at anything. And I just don't do anything in my life for the pats on the back. I appreciate them. Believe me, I appreciate when people actually go and listen and then come back and tell me something or can spit a lyric or be like, man, that was fire. Or even if it's just a freestyle, man, I promise you I appreciate that. That puts a fire under you to do more, but it's just not, I don't have that drive. I think God did that on purpose with me. He don't want me preaching because I got so many likes and views. Because let it be known, when I first started preaching, I was in a fight with one person who used to be one of my best friends. And the first week that I was preaching, hundreds of views because they thought I was going to talk about that. After they realized I was just preaching for real, oh, man, you just talking about God. You ain't going to talk about you and Roe fighting. I don't want to hear. I thought you were going to
I
talk about you
think
and Roe fighting.
I think what we're doing for me, this is going to be a kind of a release. There's all sorts of things I'd like to talk about with somebody as far as, there are all sorts of things run through my mind. And I think we have a lot of the same opinions, but we come from different perspectives. And probably the only thing that we really at this point are maybe at odds on is maybe who the party we would vote for. But I think we're more close on that than you'd realize. And I've noticed one thing about you though is you can get insight into things in a different way that I have not seen before. And there's been a couple of things where I'm like, I never really would have seen it that way. And it's not even the way you said it or what you said. It's just a whole different way of looking at things. And I think that's why we're going to have a lot of good back and forth with a lot
Well,
of
that's
stuff.
that's the dynamic that I tell you. Like it's like I look at things differently, but then you will say something. I'll be like, oh, okay.
I
It's
think
a
it's the
it's
same
a
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it takes the all of nothing out of it. It's like you would thought this perspective was all this way, but it's like, wow, you got that perspective, but it's not that way. So it's just like now I got to examine how I think about people who have that perspective, or somebody who even thinks that way or votes that way. For any and
Well,
speaking of voting, going straight into speaking of
I've got to
voting,
remind you, though, that for most of my life, I would have considered myself a Democrat and aligned with those views, but only in the last uh, less than 10 years have I gone a different way. So I'm not, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's not very
And the
much
crazy
different.
thing about it, when I was in college, 2010, I went to Lone Star. Shout out to Lone Star. I had a couple professors, and because I was up in age, me and the professor would get in these. Not just one professor, but my English and my history professor. We would get in these long discussions, and even the kids in the class, they were like, "Man, we love when you come to class because he don't teach nothing. Y'all just have a conversation, and it'd be funny, and they'd be laughing." But they used to always tell me, "You're Democratic now." But because of your mind and your business, there's no way you're going to stay. Eventually, you're going to be Republican because when your business gets to popping, you're going to want them out of your pockets and out of your business. And it's like eventually you're going to be. And I'd be like, why do all y'all say? And they were all telling me this. It's not like they was, talking together amongst themselves. They all said the same thing. It was like, it's no way with your mind and your business sense, you're going to stay Democratic. And I'm just like, I just didn't get it then. I mean, I kind of get it now, but I used to always tell them like it's not that I think all Republicans are racism. It just seems that the racism grows around certain people in Republican, and I don't. And
Yeah.
sometimes I've learned to believe it's not even. They don't even know it. They think they're cool. They think they don't have these ways, and it's just a bad prejudice that
Well,
didn't get examined.
let me be the first to again, I'm very barely across that line, but I will be the first to tell you that I agree with you. I feel like the the most extreme part of the Republican Party is deplorable, to be honest with you. If we're talking about all the bad traits of what could be considered somebody who would be a Republican, but the same thing would be true of Democrats. And I think we've gotten, like, if we think of the typical, I'm just going to be sort of mean here on the Republican side, if we're talking about all the bad stereotypes we want to say about Republicans, they're dumb, they're inbred, they're Southerners, they're poor, they're white, they're racist. Like, these are the things that you might associate with the. I think.
It's that Republicans
is that correct?
Mine is they're rich. And see, some people think they're poor. Mine is Republicans are rich.
I think the way people are, in the last few years, what has been defined as because I think there was a time when it was like the rich white people who owned everything were the Republicans, but it seems to now be sort of just the working class and not so much of blacks or. It is of Hispanics, though. By the way, like there's a lot of.
I never could understand that one.
Because
I still don't get that one.
It's not something that I don't think a lot of the Democrats expected, but they seem to be at this point voting Republican.
They do definitely in groves.
But I do think the perception of the Democratic Party now seems to be the elites, and then everybody who is of some sort of like a marginalized party as far as your sex is concerned, if you're trans, if you're gay.
Yeah, it's the connection of marginalized. It's definitely
that plus the elites and the people that own everything it's all, and that's why it's hard to define what's what anymore, and if I could be anything, I'd probably just say I was an independent, and that's
I lean more to the libertarian. Like, and I don't care about telling people who I voted for. I voted who I voted for, especially if it's in the past. You can't stop me.
I respect whoever you voted. I respect that you voted, whoever it is.
Like I say, I didn't get to vote on anything in Houston, so I didn't get to vote on your girl, Tanya.
And I just thank you for even mentioning her and even putting her name up.
Because I'm equal. Like, if you could tell me a good story about a person, I'm voting for that person because I know her more than I know any of these politicians. At least I know somebody who knows her. I don't know nobody who knows Biden. I don't know nobody who knows Trump. I don't know nobody who knows DeSantis. I don't know nobody who knows Greg Abbott. And for any Mexican out there who that one commercial got me. The one commercial that got me about Greg Abbott, the one with the Spanish girl said, I call him my T.O. Greg. That one killed me. I like to die every time I heard it. You do not call him your T.O. Greg. I know you don't.
I should watch more TV, man. I don't watch any TV, so I miss all these things.
I do.
I watch YouTube and all that stuff.
Football games. It had to be doing football games because it's the only time I watch it. It's the only time I watch it. Because who does watch regular TV? Like, who got the time to sit down on time to watch something these days? We don't. Right. All right. We got 5 minutes.
Retired, our parents, if they're retired, like my dad, can sit around and watch.
All the time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think appointment TV is for people. I would say probably about 55 or older, because everybody below that is like, oh, I'll watch it. I wouldn't even watch it during season. I'm gonna wait till they get all of them and then binge watch it. Like,
speaking of programming, what we were talking about earlier, just all the things that are put in front of your face. Like, I don't watch hardly any TV. So when I would go to my dad's house, and I would sit and watch like CNN with him, and I would get to when you get to the commercial breaks, it's like everything's drugs for you or Joe Namath trying to take your money through a reverse mortgage, right? I'm like, Joe, shame on you, dude.
I was like, why would y'all do this? Why y'all gotta use Joe?
You know what I'm talking about?
Reverse mortgages is killing people out here.
I know, but damn, Joe Namath, you're on here like doing this to the people who grew up watching you, man. Shame on you, dude.
Hey, did you see JJ? You didn't see? They got JJ. They got James Evans. They got Jimmy Walker out there.
Oh yes, yeah. F you too, JJ. Come on, man.
Reverse mortgages. I was just
you want these people living in the projects, giving up their houses? Come on, man. They made it this far.
He was never good with money. Never take financial advice from JJ. Nobody.
No, man. But yeah, I'm like, no, but it's like what I'm saying is like when I went to my dad's house, when I don't watch TV and I go, oh my God, this is what you watch all day? It's
But I
bizarre
probably
world.
like that.
I'm like, they're trying to take all your money right now and get you on drugs. You know, like what is going on, man? What, like, geez.
It's the program.
So,
The commercials they used to be just commercials.
but
to
they know
grab
who's
the
watching.
audience. Yeah,
They know that it's like
they
65
know
and
who's
up
watching
people.
now. They know who's
And
watching.
you're gonna, yeah, they're trying to take your money.
Oh
So
man,
it's sad, but it's funny, man. Like, yeah, don't even
that's what I call like a breathing algorithm. Like we deal with them on the phones and the apps, but that's just some numbers. When they're targeting commercials toward these people, and they know older people are watching, they know these retirees are watching, they know people on Medicaid's watching. They are targeting them way worse than any algorithm. Algorithm's been alive long before they were a math problem. They were being acted out on people, and we just didn't realize it. We thought the commercials were random. We thought they were really random as a kid. Now you realize it's not so many random things that happen in America.
no, nothing's random.
No,
Gosh.
no.
Well,
right, we got
I have a
minutes.
great, oh man, I have a good thought here and it's almost gone. I'm doing what I did a minute ago. I had a great thing and then you start going and then you give me another idea and I forget the first one.
I think it's the countdown. I think it's the countdown. When I tell you we got 3 minutes left, thought just goes out the rain.
Yeah, is that what it is? We're already
3 minutes.
Oh crap.
But I know one thing, we will continue this one because we still got 2 more subjects we didn't get to. But that's what I like about this. We don't have to get it all out in one session. We can come back to it. We can come back to it. Okay, there go June.
I'll say one while we have
PSK right there. Hit me up. He asked me what's my ETA. That's PSK right there. He just hit me up.
Okay. Hey, tell him I said what's up too. Hey,
I will do that.
And tell him I'm sorry for commenting on his post one time about some political stuff that I said. I think it was he didn't appreciate it, but he was nice about it, man. So I apologize.
Stuff like that. I've said some weird stuff on his post, and he's cool people all the way around.
Yeah.
All the way around. All right.
And speaking of that,
what's that?
Before I was going to say this a minute ago. Speaking of DJ Screw, I'm reading this book right now by Lance Scott Walker.
Wow.
And when you're telling your story about your experience, this book is filled with different people doing the same thing. There's KK, there's DJ Screw himself, wow. There's 3-2. It's all Mike D. Just good stories like you told of telling the story of his life. I actually am gonna. I went to this Screwed Up Records and Tapes the other day. They were closed. I'm gonna go up there soon. So if you want to roll, or if you can figure out which screw tape you're on, let me know. I'm going to buy it because I do think
I don't know if it would be like in the stores because, like I say, I would have to go by dates.
But they have all the chapters that they have, for sale.
Like but see, like I say, ours was probably one of those ones that didn't get the big buzz. So, but we're gonna do it. We probably just do a whole new DJ Screw version, bro. We can go for a little around his birthday, which is like in June. All right, so we got 1 minute, but let's go ahead and sign it off.
Much love, y'all.
Next time. Roc-N-Red, we in the house, y'all. This is the first
yes, sir. Episode. Peace out, y'all.
Peace out.
Much love.
Crack open my eye. It smell like trouble.